I hate being a mother. Hey everyone, welcome back to Lives on Reddit. Don't forget to subscribe to be a for lifer. Posting this from a throwaway for obvious reasons, nonsensical rants ahead. I really thought I wanted kids because that's what I thought I was supposed to do, be a wife and have kids. When my husband and I started trying, I felt pregnant after 6 months. We were both initially overjoyed. About a month in, that joy started to be replaced with fear in me. Something just changed in my brain, and at the time, all those same people telling us how amazing having a child was changed their tune completely. They now started with comments like, enjoy whatever alone time you have while you can, enjoy sleep while you can get it, enjoy a clean house while you have it, etc, etc, etc. I started thinking, why the heck has everyone shifted so rapidly now that we are pregnant? Anyway, I went along with the motions and put on a fake smile up until my daughter was born. Husband was happy and excited that whole time. I continued to go downhill mentally and got stuck in a what have I done? I don't think I want this loop. When she was born, rather than that life-changing moment of pure bliss all other parents seem to describe, I just felt dread and sadness. Fast forward 5 years and now everything freaking sucks. Mine and my partner's relationship quickly went downhill, and we are so distant and basically just housemates. We are never intimate. We never do anything fun. We can't even just be lazy and watch TV shows or movies like we used to love doing because of the screaming, demanding child always needing attention. I freaking hate my life. Yes, I'm in therapy with both a psychiatrist and a psychologist, but it isn't helping. I think I just wasn't meant to have kids. I love her and I want the best for her, but I don't have the same connection to her that other moms seem to have to their kids. I don't miss her when I have to go on a long trip, I just feel relief. Having her home because of the pandemic has been really hard for me. I have a lot of guilt about it. I don't withhold affection or anything, but I am not a naturally affectionate person. My husband is. I feel pretty lonely and left out when they're playing together. I feel like I don't belong. It's a weird dichotomy. I don't really know. Even though I'm surrounded by family, it feels pretty dang lonely. I don't feel like I belong in my own life. I fantasize about taking off alone and living somewhere by myself. But I don't want to mess her up like that. She's innocent and doesn't deserve it. So I do my best, and I hope I'll be alive in 10 years to be alone again. Please don't make the same mistake I did if you have even the slightest of doubts. Being a parent sucks. You completely lose your identity. Everything that was once easy is 100 times harder. There's an episode of a podcast called Unladylike that is about a mother who had a lot of similar feelings as yourself. And she ultimately divorced her husband and granted him custody. I think the child is much happier with the husband and his new wife. Give it a listen if you're interested. Regarding, I think the child is much happier with the husband and his new wife, it's a very common misconception that parents should stay together for the sake of children. Children aren't as stupid as they seem. They observe and see misery and pain around them. If the relationship is in shambles, that stress will not be good for the kid at all. Yes, I must be honest. As someone who had a picture-perfect Christian, happy family upbringing from an outsider's perspective, I sure as heck was still messed up from my parents staying together with me just for the sake of vows and fear of cultural judgment, though obviously unhappy. I absorbed all of that, and after a lot of therapy, realized much later that it manifested into depression and anxiety. Coming from knowing deep down that I was an unwanted child, it was a light bulb moment. Even as a child, I knew that, despite no one else really being able to tell from a glance and my parents reassuring me throughout that I was a happy surprise. They loved me once I was there, but didn't really want me, and that's okay. I came at a time when they had no money, their relationship was already screwed, and it's okay that they were terrified. I would be too in their shoes. What I wish they did though was for them to voice this rather than hide it and try to find happiness elsewhere. If that meant separating, I think it would have been better for everyone. Me and my older siblings ultimately were the only things holding them together, aside from God. But if they could have their time again, in today's era, they would not have survived, I expect. They would have broken up, moved on, and probably both not be miserable now and as seriously ill. They wasted their one precious life being miserable and now are both dying in their 70s, the age everyone says, "Oh, but at least once they're all grown up, I'll be able to retire." They never got to. I feel grateful that I live in an era where I don't have to make the same mistakes. I don't want history to repeat itself because I wouldn't want my child to have the same baggage as me. I don't know if this helps, but I just wanted to write it all out. Wishing original poster and anyone else the best of luck. Your rant isn't nonsensical. Thanks for sharing it. You're being very vulnerable in sharing this, and that's commendable. Honestly, it sickens me how quickly these parents did a 180 after you became pregnant. Before the baby, they were only laying on the positives. "Oh, it's the greatest feeling in the world. It's the best. You'll love it." And then as soon as you were past the point of no return, they turn on you. They know you're going to be miserable and they love it. Honestly, it's just evil. They wanted your life to be ruined. I leave advice on what to do to the older, wiser members of this forum, but I really feel for you. I wish you the best. Try to keep positive. Regarding, "What have I done? I don't think I want this," loop, this is exactly what I felt. The first time I held my son, all I could feel was panic. The realization that a whole other person has been brought to life because of my stupid decisions was absolutely overwhelming. After 7 years, I just couldn't take it. I divorced my husband and saw my son every other weekend. I did the best I could for him, but it wasn't anywhere near what he really needed. He's 27 now, and I don't blame him for going low contact. I created an account just for this post. I wanted to say I also grew up in a divorced family. I was about 5, and honestly, I'm fine about it. I didn't see much of my dad growing up, and I do have a relationship with him now, and it's really good. Given the choice, I would have it the same way again, because what I actually remember more than the divorce is the tension and unhappiness between my parents, and I feel that would have been more damaging than anything. I agree with others. Once she gets older, she will notice the dynamic and the unhappiness. That would do more damage than not being a primary caregiver. My brother and I were perfectly happy just being with our single mother, and I actually honestly feel if my dad was in the mix, I would have been very unhappy and a totally different person, though I wouldn't admit that in real life. As others have said, better to do that when she's young, but if you feel that you might not hold resentment or anger as she starts going to school and you gain more freedom again, then yes, stick around because that's only like 5 to 7 years away. But if the whole package is too much, being at home with the kid, the demand and attention, things being harder generally, then definitely consider divorcing and letting your husband be primary caregiver. Regarding, I fantasized about taking off alone and living somewhere by myself. I may get hate for this, but oh well. If you're going to, do it now, while she's still young and doesn't know any better. My parents split when I was around that age and I don't remember a thing. Grew up with 2 separate households and it was the norm for me. My mother was also a huge partier, and growing up, I hated it because she sure wasn't the typical mom everyone else had. Sure, it was cool to my friends and I traveled a ton once older, but we butt heads a ton. Also, as an adult, I would feel downright horrible if my mother told me she was miserable and never wanted to be a mother but stayed instead, only to never fulfill life dreams. Thing is, as the kid gets older, they're going to pick up on your misery. Once they're old enough to talk back, it's going to be a living nightmare and it's going to come out verbally, even if you don't mean it to. Not to mention noticing the strain between you and your husband. I guess in a nice way, I'm saying to run while you can and let the father take care of her. The home life would be better for her. I personally think once she's old enough, she'll understand. But I'm child-free and I would rather be happy than live a miserable life, no matter what the consequences. Only one life. I sure as heck won't let something stop me. My parents divorced when I was 18. My youngest sister was 4, and there are 5 other kids between her and me, and none of us took it badly. Really, we all understood that it was better that way, so I don't know if age is the reason some people take it badly. I'm so sorry. I absolutely hate that it's so taboo to voice similar opinions. I actually know several perfect Instagram moms who feel very similar. My best friend is a deeply regretful mom herself. You sound just like her. I remember the day of her baby shower, she took me aside and told me about how parents lie until you're too far along to do anything, and then all the ugly truth comes out. She said, "I feel like a bomb is about to go off." I figured she'd bond when her kid was born, but I was so wrong. She was so miserable. She never ended up being able to bond, and even 5 years later, has nothing in common with her kid. I have another mom friend who projected this image of doting, successful mom, but I found out from her husband recently that she'd had 4 unaliving attempts, followed by 2 6-month stints in a mental health facility. She confessed she was doing substances as well to take off the edge. I guess she felt immense pressure and just didn't enjoy being a mom or a wife. I had no idea, as her social media tells a very different story. I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's much more common than people think. It doesn't mean that you don't love your kids, it's just that not everyone loves the mom lifestyle, understandably. I hope you get more of your old life back as your daughter ages. Whoa, 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 whoa. Don't leave. Subscribe. Be a for lifer. Ooh.